Welcome to another episode of the Wood Couture podcast. Today we have the absolute pleasure to welcome to the show Lotfi Sidirahal, the founder, principal, and creative director of Atelier Pod. Welcome to the show, dear Lotfi.
Hello, Filippo. Thank you very much for having me on your podcast, Filippo. It's really a pleasure.
Excellent. For all our friends and viewers that do not know, Lotfi is a veteran with 23 years experience in the interior architecture sphere, designing for luxury hotels all over the world. And since 1999 has been grouping a range of awards, and there is an interesting past that we want to know, and how he became one of the most sought after interior designer for the luxury hospitality worldwide, for top brands like Anantara, Four Seasons, and many more. So Lotfi, we are really curious. We want to know where it all started. Where did it all kick off?
Well, first time I was born in Casablanca, Morocco, raised there. And then when I was 18, I went to Paris to study architecture. So in the beginning, I really wanted to make movies because I wanted to share emotions. And cinema for me is a powerful medium. Maybe just after music for that. But I imagine at the time that my parents, especially my father, really wanted me to do a real job. So I turned into architecture, went to Paris in École Spéciale d'Architecture. And in the third year, I've met a very interesting teacher, Odile Deck, who was one of the most famous women architects in Europe at that time. And she was having a workshop about experimentation and studying utopias of the 50s and 60s. And at that time, I realized that actually what human creation as a whole, and not only for architecture and design, but there are always two waves. You have the visionaries who thinks about ideas, who can dream big. And then you have a second wave of people who comes 50 years, 70 years, 80 years, who realize that dreams. In the history of architecture and urbanism, it's the same thing. You always have utopias, and then it becomes real architecture trends. So the topic of that studio is what would become our world at the end of the 90s. It was, I think, in 1997, with the emerge of internet, the emerge of mobile phone. How will become the objects, the architecture, the houses, the cities? Are we all gonna be nomads, etc.? So I designed the project, and I was 21, 22 years, called Nomambule, and it's a bag, and in that bag you have an inflatable structure that becomes like a bubble. It was one of the best projects that year in that studio, and I have also some other friends who did some very interesting projects. And then I've met an art critic in the school who was also a journalist, and told me about an exhibition called RR in Monaco at the Grimaldi Forum. I thought it was a trade expo with inflatable manufacturers. So I sent the project. I sent also the project of my friends. Their website was very, very minimalistic. So no news. After that, really no news. And after 2 months, I received a call. They said they adore the projects. They want to exhibit them and even manufacture our prototypes. And at that time, I realized that it's not a trade expo. It's a mega contemporary art exhibition showcasing all major artists in the world who used air in their work, including Andy Warhol, Gaetano Pecce, Takani Murakami, and even some of the utopists I was studying at school, like Aki Graham and Hans Walter Mueller. And then the lady on the phone, she was the deputy curator, and she told me, "What's the name of your design studio? I couldn't find it on I found your projects, your names, but what is your design studio?" And then I told her, well, I cannot hear you very well. Let me call you in a few minutes. I called my friends. I told them, guys, we need to establish a design studio now, immediately. And he said, why? Just tell to the lady we are students. And I said, no, we will be exhibited among great artists and architects in the world. It's a fantastic. Let's start our design studio now. Let's create a lab. And in Archigram was in the 60s, one of the greatest architect utopists we know. They created so many things like walking cities, flying cities, wherever. And they had a project called Living in a Pod. And since our vision was that to not think that architecture is about building, but architecture is about shaping space. And the incarnation of space can be with anything. It can be with music. When you hear nice music, you have a sense of place and a sense of space. So we believe that at the end, what matters is a space and the container of a space. And that's why we came up with the name of Pod, because it was inspired from the pod beans and from this project Living in Motion. It was way before the iPod of Steve Jobs. So I called the lady again. I told her, yes, our name is Pod. This is the name of our agency, and the new adventure started. So we went to the exhibition. It was really fantastic. We've met great people. We were having dinner at 22 years old with great artists like Ben, like the group Air, the music group Air. Brian De Palma, the film director, was sitting at the table, just the next table with the Prince of Monaco. It was really amazing. And then after that exhibition, a new world opened to us. So the curator of Monaco called me and told me the people of the Vitra Design Museum came to the exhibition and they loved your project and they want to do similar expo in Berlin, but smaller. So they can take only 20% of the project we did in Monaco at the Grimaldi Forum. And your project is selected. So I said, wow, that's amazing. What's the Vitra Design Museum again? So he told me, Vitra, you know Vitra? I said, yeah, of course, I know Vitra. I didn't know Vitra. I didn't know that Vitra is one of the most famous furniture editor in the world. And they had opened the first design museum in Europe. So after the Vitra Design Museum, I did also a collaboration with them on mobility, because they want to do another exhibition called Living in Motion about the nomadism. So not anymore about inflatable. So other museum called, and I was at 23, maybe not even yet having graduated architect. I was lecturing in different areas. I went to Seoul for the Angoram Design Museum exhibition. They asked me to create something at the museum. So I was probably too young to understand what's happening to me at that time. And it was a crazy era where we became stars at 22 years old, admired by or jealous by some of our colleague students. The school didn't know exactly what we were doing. And then I think maybe the thing we did the greatest was the Borromini Awards in Italy. And this was like a major awards. It's not like the kind of awards that you buy at $500 and then you always get a prize. No, this was really like serious. And they had two categories, one upon 40 years old and one below 40. And we got nominated amongst the 40 best architects in the world with our inflatable crazy projects. And Jean Nouvel won the category over 40, and he was considered the best architect at that time. And no, it was really crazy era. Even one day we received a call from the Michael Kent Association, the cousin of the Queen of England, because they wanted us to design an inflatable hospital. So after this first era, the Pod Lab, actually, I was lecturing with my friends, we were doing crazy exhibition, we were in the newspaper, but we were not making money because we were more like creating and experimenting stuff and doing like contemporary art, being exhibited in museum, but not really, we couldn't make it as a living. So all the friends that I was founding Pod with them, they left in their respective countries because like me, they came from other countries and they studied in Paris. And me, I decided, I think in 2004 or three, I just was graduated. I decided to teach and design objects. I didn't want to work in a big firm. So that's what I did. I did a PhD. I was a teaching assistant in the same school I was graduated, and I started designing objects, light features, coffee machine, etc. And then a friend contacted me at that time and told me, his name was Gabriel, and told me, Lotfi, you cannot do that. You cannot come back to teaching and become like a regular teacher. We've met in school with all the awards you've won, with all the exhibition. Let's do something. He wanted actually to work with Kenzo, with Armani, with Clarence. He started really to get specialized in retail. And he asked me to join him so that we can join forces and I can bring that credentials to his company so we can get more chance. And that's what I did. I joined him. The company was named Nebka, but it didn't last long. It lasted like 2 years. And after that, I realized that I hated the repetitivity aspect of the retail, because once you establish the concept, it's always like a lot of repetitiveness. But this experience taught me that in reality, I wanted to have a design company. I wanted to create. I wanted really to jump and create experience. So I created the design company Atelier Pod in an homage to the Pod Lab I did with the friends a few years back. So I created and founded Atelier Pod to continue the spirit of Pod Lab, but turn more into crafting dreams and making the link with all what I wanted to do through the cinema, and I couldn't do it, sharing that emotions. And of course, when you want to materialize dreams, the best field in our industry is hospitality. So this is how I really wanted to work more and to develop skills in hotel design, because this is for me where dreams are. Yes, well, definitely my mentor. My first mentor was Odile Deck, this teacher, because she was she has an extraordinary charisma. She's punk, and she really teach me on how to break rules, how to understand the world we are living, and how to realize that what we are designing, it's for the next 10 years. So first, we need to understand the world we are living. We need to understand the past in order to anticipate the future. If we don't anticipate the future of the society, we're going to design something that will not match the society evolution. Of course, we can also shape the world and change it, but we need to understand it in order to follow that. So this was really like the mentor. And then I have also a lot of inspirations. And my inspirations are rarely from the architectural design world. I love to take inspiration, and always I push my team to take their inspirations also from worlds that are outside architecture. So for example, a film director like David Lynch, I like what he does, because he transcends dreams and he has this random storytelling, which is quite interesting. I love also watching the work of cinematographers, not only film directors, but cinematographers, the people who deal with the image, with the lighting, like Darius Khondji, who worked a lot with Roman Polanski, like Luca Bigazzi, who works a lot with Paolo Sorrentino. I love the movies of Paolo Sorrentino's, the lighting, the composition. So it's really captivating. And I learned from that how I can build storytelling. Even like choreographers like Merce Cunningham, who revolutionized the dance, and because he created some random in the way of using the space. So a dancer can be a great inspiration to design a hotel space. So these are the inspiration that I like. I really always try to push the team to avoid direct inspiration. Actually, I mean, the penalty for inspiration, direct inspiration in my company is mostly dead. So it's completely forbidden in the firm. Yeah, and it takes a lot to create and to experiment and to, so it's very important to be supported by a brand and by an investor and owner who understand exactly the effort when you want really to create something new and really want to innovate.
It's extraordinary because I was reading the story from the Grimaldi, exhibition in Monaco. You end up in Korea. Am I right? Did I read correct? You end up in Korea, and you won something in Korea again.
Yes.
Wherever you went, you were winning something. So, how was that
Yes.
experience?
It was an amazing experience. So after the pod trend, the pod lab, so in 2006, I was contacted by the Hungarian Design Museum, and it was one of the most important design museum in Asia. And they wanted to do an exhibition, and they wanted also to have me and my friends to give a lecture about changes of society, about mobility and nomadism. And this event was also one of the sponsors was Samsung. So, and what was interesting is that not only they wanted to have a lecture and us exhibiting the project, they want me also to create an object or a design specifically for that exhibition so that they can keep it in their collection. So it was really an amazing adventure. I mean, and also I think in 2006 I was 27 years old, giving lecture and explaining to the public there where our society is heading and how the design should be transformed into mobility. So it was quite yeah. Now I'm 43, and I see this as really like I definitely didn't realize what I was living at that time, I think.
Do you consider yourself more an artist or a product visionary?
That's a very interesting question, because I believe an artist may be the only different. I consider some kind of artist, but an artist has zero constraints. The problem in our field is that you have a lot of constraints. So it's difficult to call yourself a hotel or hospitality artist because you have to deal with constraints. So I think, yes, you're right. Maybe a visionary, it's more adapted to what I do. Create a strong vision in order to shape space and translate emotions. The artistic way of it, it's that I use a lot of dreaming tricks and dream tricks, because the brain can't make the difference between the dream and reality. And when you live in a world right now when emotions are more and more requested to sell products, and if we see like the trend of fashion, and I think the fashion industry, if you want to look at the evolution of hotels or anything that is related to aesthetic, it's very important to see what the fashion designing, because they are one step ahead. And the capitalism and the way they infuse emotion and using this aesthetic, of course, to sell more and more products, is really shaping the way we are dealing with experiences in general. And there is a dreamy effect about that, because when you want to sell an emotion, but people, they talk a lot about experience here, experience that. For me, experience is very simple. It's a product which you add an emotion. It becomes an experience. That's it. It's that simple. So in order to have this ability to add emotions, you need to develop certain skills or tricks in order to design with emotions. And I believe that the dream aspect of it is very important, because dream is full of emotion. So although it's impossible to translate dream into words and have somebody else able to follow it, this is, I think, the reason why I designed these projects. It's to portray these dream states. You cannot share a dream. So I decided that maybe my job is to allow people to live common dreams and also use the same transition sometimes we have in dreams. So you don't feel yourself really when you enter a dream. And I do a lot of resorts projects, and the resort project is very important, the transition when in the arrival experience and the way, since you enter into an outside world, the way you arrive to the landscape, to the beach or to the mountain view, wherever. So this transition is quite interesting. So, so although the dream is not real, the emotions we feel in dream are real. We can get scared, we can fall in love, a lot of things interesting in dream. So the metaphor I use dream because dream is built with pieces of reality. And in my work, these pieces of reality, they are the context. And in every hotel project, in my opinion, the context is paramount. Either you transcend that context in order to create something really like vernacular or rooted only, or you say, okay, I don't want the context. I want to bring something completely out of the city, another universe to create a contrast of a clash. But I think that the success of any hotel project has to be a questioning about the context.
You an advocate, and you define yourself an author of identities. Although you're working with very luxury brands like Anantara, Four Seasons, and the top-end brands of Accor and many other Hilton, Marriott's, and so forth, do you still give an identity to your design despite that there is these brands above the door?
You know, I think that I didn't do the mistake. I did that mistake before when I was working with Gabriel on the retail. I thought that the brands, they are institutions that you cannot touch, and that you need to understand the guidelines, you need to understand the spirit of the brand, and you need to respect that. But in reality, when you come back to the fashion industry, and then we'll do the parallel with the hotels, the fashion brands, that the one that succeeds, they give a total freedom to the designers. When you see, for example, Dior with Galliano, when you see Chanel with Karl Lagerfeld, etc., they didn't impose something to them. No, they locate strong individuals who has the strong visions and the strong narrative and the strong maybe personal even story and the history, and say, okay, now we're gonna give you our brand, show us where you can lead it, because you as Karl Lagerfeld or Galliano or Tom Ford, you are part of your society, of your world. You understand the world more than as Christian Dior when Christian Dior founded the firm, because we are living in a new world. So they need the artist to push the brands forward. And some designers think wrongly when working with some hotel brands that they need to be too respectful of the brand. I think the brand they want, and investors, some investors also, especially the one dealing with very premium luxury assets, they want to have strong personalities. Although so a designer should not be afraid by a strength or a history of a brand, because the brands needs its freedom of creativity to push the brand forward. And this is how it worked for this last 20, 30 years. And this is the recipe of success for the most successful brand, especially the brands that sell a design as an experience, either aesthetic in the manufacture of the products or in creating the decor, like for hospitality.
It was interesting. Last time we had lunch together, you said something very incredible, and that not many people says actually, or quite very little, that you turned down a job from a same client because you wanted to concentrate on that job alone, which is in many people's eyes says, well, but one more job, you make more money. It's kind of non-commercial decisions. But tell me why you take this approach.
Well, first of all, it's my own purpose for me. I think that it's what I wanted to do since I was a kid is really to share emotions, to share experience. When I watch a nice movie or read a nice book, I have to tell it to my friends. I need to share them to that. You have to read this. So sharing emotions and sharing experience, this is why I do these things. And also to have fun, to make experimentations. The financial aspect can be sometimes an obstacle, and it's not in my firm. I own the company. I decide if I want to make money on this project or if I want to make less, or even sometimes if I want to lose money. The most important is what I do every day when I wake up, and also the inspiration and the way of inspiring my team that matters. And you need to have this liberty, because I can tell you something that I never say to owners, to clients, but now they know, they will know watching the podcast, is that creativity is not guaranteed. Experimentation is not guaranteed. Sometimes you can be very quick, having quick idea and then succeed. And even me, I mean, after working on 40, 50 hotel projects, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you feel that you're going into a wrong path, and then you have to destroy it, throw everything onto the trash and start over. We cannot say that always to clients, because they will get scared, because they will think that you have many doubts. Yes, of course, we have many doubts. We have a strong vision, but we have doubts, because this is the way you experiment and you innovate. And today, I think that we live in a world where we are surrounded by beauty, like never before. You take your phone, you go to Instagram, you see beautiful people, beautiful places, beautiful objects, etc., etc. So people are already, I mean, in contact with such a beauty. They have some very high level expectations. So you cannot offer them something just because now they are present in the room, watching the spaces that they were seeing on the screen, that they will really get enthusiastic about it. No, it has really to move them, to touch them, to sometimes to shock them, to surprise them, and it takes a lot to obtain that kind of result. So sometimes it can be painful. It can be very painful for me, for the team, for the people surrounding me, for the suppliers. I remember like Lasvit, and I've seen you did a podcast with Lasvit, so I say hi to them. They are really amazing. So I designed a light feature in Paris, in a luxury hotel particulier in Victor Hugo. And since it was in Victor Hugo Avenue, I decided to design a light feature and call it Victor. And I wanted to do something about Victor Hugo and suspended chandeliers. So I was into a concept of manufacturing ideas and the process of creation, and showing the process of creation wherever. And then we did a lot of prototypes. Lasvit was developing designs. We spent maybe like 3 months working with the people of Lasvit. And then I told them, guys, I think this idea is not working at all. Do you mind that if we put that on the trash and we start all over from zero? And they said, yes, sure, no problem. So I was really surprised. And this is maybe why one of the reasons I will always call Lasvit for that. But and then the light feature became something more simpler. It was like floating pages of a novel that are suspended and that are using the entire space. And then there is in the middle of the room a blast of ink. So you have a blast of ink that is going from the center of the space, joining the pages. And this was the instant just before a creation of a novel. And I think I connected to this idea because what we do is also to create pieces of spaces, not pieces of books. So yeah, I mean, hopefully, I mean, I've spent all these years fighting to create, fighting to innovate. But hopefully, I think that now more and more investors, more and more brands get it, understand that they need to have strong visions, they need to have unique products, they need to differentiate themselves. I guess that we are here to help them on that.
It's interesting listening to you because you worked on amazing property like the very particular destination also, like the Anantara Jabal Akhtar Mountains, which is a stunning location, but probably one of the highest mountain resort that you can find in the region. And then now you just won a big job in the Maldives. Again, another fine brand. The question I have for you is, what are the challenges of designing sophisticated hotels like that in today's market?
You have, I think, to have some sensitivity about branding destination, about understanding the destination. And again, here we come back to the context, because especially when you deal with projects when there is zero benchmark, it can makes it very difficult. But for me, it's not, because either you have a benchmark or not. The inspiration we take, as I said, is never direct. So we need to reinvent from the context. So for the Anantara Jabal Akhtar, I've been contacted by the pension fund of the Ministry of Defense, because they had a lot of lands in Jabal Akhtar, and they wanted to create a new destination using their pension fund to design hotels that will be like the flagship and the vitrine of that destination. So they needed, they have chosen the brand Anantara because for them it's Anantara, it's about rooted experience, it's about authenticity, and it's also about dealing with the context. And maybe it's also one of the reasons we've been doing like 6 resorts Anantara these past years, because they trust us when dealing with the context. So of course we had an amazing view. We had these rocks, we had these mountains. I think that the things, they start very well when you spend a lot of time on the site. So we went there, the villagers, I brought all the teams, the landscape designer, Simon Edgar from London, who did an amazing job. And we try really to understand and to feel the site, because this first feeling is very important, because guests, few years after that, they will have the same one. So we really need to use that first immersion trip in a good way. The other issue, and the main issue we had, it's when we had, because we had a global design, so architecture and interior design. When it came to interior design, the problem is that you needed to create a universe, a world of design feature. And we know in the Gulf, because the lifestyle is different from a Western lifestyle, they didn't develop the furniture that you can, a historic furniture that you can reuse in a contemporary luxury life hospitality environment. A sofa, for example, it's something that you don't really find in their DNA before. So what we did is that we say, okay, what is Oman? What is Jabal Akhtar? And what is the DNA and the genes that they have there? So we found like amazing doors, amazing door frames, very interesting ceilings, chests, and then 1 or 2 emblematic or iconic light features. And that's it, not much more than that. But with these elements, we were able to recreate an entire design DNA of sofa, armchairs, bedside tables, light feature. So for example, the light feature, the floral pattern was taken from a door frame. The chest feet, which are very particular in Oman, we use them to create the feet of a sofa and the armchair, etc., etc. So with this DNA, it's like in the movie Jurassic Park, they took like the DNA of the the mosquito with this, and then the DNA of the dinosaur, and then they will able to replicate the entire things. So it's exactly what we did. It's with a few elements we create that. And I think the one of the best compliment I had is one journalist, I think from France, or from France, and told me, wow, you managed to do the most authentic hotel in Oman. And I told her, thank you very much, although it's completely true. There is nothing authentic about it. It's completely contemporary and new creation, but it was using the DNA of Oman. So if it looks for you authentic, then I'm very happy and proud because the job is done.
Wow. This all luxury resort and luxury property brands, obviously, they are in very particular locations, but also they're very sophisticated building. Now, in the context of building biology, sustainability, where does it come into play? What's your views? How is the industry coping with that subject?
I'll tell you an interesting story about that. I think that sustainability now, it's really a must. It's something you have to integrate. So it's not even a trend to consider. It's with us, that's for sure. Last week I was in Maldives for the Kihava resort that I'm renovating, and I had a very interesting discussion with the GM. And he told me that his PR and marketing team was pushing him about sustainability because there is a ranking of the most sustainable resorts in Maldives, and also because guests are expecting for that. And within the discussions, he told me something very, very interesting, which you don't always expect from, that kind of thinking from a GM, with all due respect to the GM. He told me, because he had really like a marketing spirit, and he told me, I don't want to tell just that we are sustainable. I want to explain that our sustainability is to recreating or preserving life, and that we have a cause to preserve nature life for humanity. And the way he was explaining and doing that storytelling was very, very interesting. So I would say that sustainability, yes, technically it's a must. It has to be integrated, that's for sure. But also it's something that needs to be integrated also as a storytelling. We need to find a way to make it appealing also, in order to integrate that in the way we are delivering the design experience, and just not to give a good conscience to the guest by telling them, you know what, we are sustainable, so don't worry, we don't waste resources, we're gonna save the world, you can spend time in our hotels. It has to be done, I think, in a more sophisticated way now, because it's not it's been 10 years that becomes really serious. So there is an evolution in the way to integrate that also in the design experience.
In the world of luxury hospitality and in the context of interior architecture, what do you think will be the key trends that we're gonna see going forward, or what are clients and brand demanding, that is included in the kind of debriefing, in your opinion?
I think that we are maybe at the end of something, something that started in the 90s, with integrating the design not only as a classical decor, which was the hotel palaces before. So before you had like the hotel palaces that had this fantastic decor, and then you have hotels that were focusing only on service and not on design. And then in the 90s, with the boutique hotels revolution, brands integrating that, then design became for sure part of the experience. As I said, we live in a world surrounded by beauty. So there is this hyper individualistic world we are living. So that is very demanding on beauty, on images, on new experiences, on creativity. So it's going more and more fast, and it's developing, but it will reach a peak. I don't know when, but it will reach a peak. And that peak is that maybe guests will start getting tired with immersive design experiences. This is what I'm doing. What I do, it's create strong immersive design experiences. But I believe that there will be an end to that trend at some point, because when you develop something too much, the guest can get tired of it. And I believe that in parallel, there is a need also for more authenticity. And I think that authenticity will be a key word. And it's a key trend worldwide. And if you see even the politicians, I mean, people elected Donald Trump, not because he was the best, but because he was maybe the most authentic to them. Because even if he's doing mistakes and saying something that was completely insane, he succeeded because he was authentic. He was saying what he was thinking, etc. So it's a major trend when you read books done by sociologists about that. Authenticity is very important. So what will become the authenticity in the hospitality industry? Now we realize that our sphere, our proximate space got shrinked because of this phone. Why? Because when you take a selfie, you take your immediate environment. So people, when they come to a space, they focus more about what is next to them. That's why one of the most Instagrammed video in the world was the one with the Turkish cook doing salt, because it's a fantastic experience, because it's a very strong one, because you have this proximity. You have a service that is delivered in front of you. You have something that you can capture with your phone. So now it questions the utility of having a giant feature wall behind your reception front desk, maybe, because the guest cannot turn and having the receptionist behind them and take a picture because it looks weird. So all this, it's impacting. I mean, the framing of phone is shaping the world. That's and it's transforming the way guests are using the hotel spaces. So yes, authenticity, yes, a different kind of experience. When you see the lifestyle trend, that's a lot of hotel. I suspect that this lifestyle opposite to design, because for me, I make the differentiation between lifestyle and design. For me, design, you have like a visionary, a designer behind this, and he designed a hotel, and then you have like an immersive design experience. Lifestyle, you almost have the feeling that you don't know who designed that. And I think that this trend came from Airbnb. Hotel brands and hotel investors realized that the success of Airbnb, maybe it's not only the price. It's not only getting a one-bedroom at the price of a small hotel room and getting more comfort. No, it's maybe getting immersed in a very different and unique environment, because that apartment, you will find some nice cushions that have been bought in a souk, and you will find a nice sofa that you've never seen anywhere. And then you have that kind of very special environment. And you see also in terms of restaurants, you see that a lot of very successful restaurants are also restaurants that are designed sometimes by the owners, or give the impression that they are designed by the owners, and you have a lot of artworks and you have a lot of objects that are sourced from all over the world. So you don't really see this strong vision. It looks like random. Where in a design hotel, there is a concept, there is a vision, and it's following a strong path. So having something random, I think it's reconforting more the guest in some way. It's giving more space to them, because you're right. For example, in a hotel like in a lifestyle hotel. I'm not gonna name brands, so I will not make any jealous. But in a lifestyle hotel, what is great with that, it's that it can fit whatever attitude you have. You want a lounge in a place, you can. You want to work and have a 72, 75 centimeter high table to work or to eat, you can do that. You want to go on a strange place when you have a rocking bed, you can do. So it's not the designer's vision that is shaping your attitude as a hotel guest, but it's more you. You decide because you have plenty of possibilities. So you see that this trend, although it seems that it's another design trend, but it seems to go in opposite into a design that is imposed. It goes to full of possibilities that are offered to the guest and them to choose where they want to go and how they want to use that space.
If you had to choose, and from your bucket list of things to do, what would be a job, say, before I conclude a career in interior architecture and do something else, I mean, not because you retire, because you might change directions. What would be your dream job, your dream project?
My dream job if I didn't do architecture?
No, your dream project before you end your long...
My dream project.
Yeah.
That I will take some minutes to answer to that because that's very important. First, because I'm not sure I have the answer, but I will tell you something that is really related to that. And I realized that when I started my career as hotel designers, I was an outsider. And this gives me a lot of inspiration, a lot of push, because I wanted to kick ass my competitors in a good way, in a very respectful way. But I wanted really to show the world, and I have like a team of warriors who really wants to go to the battle and to fight. We did this design competition, architecture competition in Croatia, and it's a super, for the most luxurious hotel in Croatia, and we had great architecture studio from the best in the world, and we won that. And then we've been invited in Al Ula in a fantastic design competition in among the best architects in the world. And so it's now getting a little bit more difficult, I have to admit, to get excited, because we are no longer the outsiders. Because now people, they hire me because they believe that we are one of the best in the world to do their projects. So I told to the team, guys, we really need to find another way to temperate our emotion, because we believe that we do a lot of resorts, we do a lot of luxury hotels with dreams, with brands we dreamed of, and that we need to find another way to get excited, because there is no longer, I mean, it's no longer the city or no longer the size of the building that is exciting. So we find now excitements in more on the core innovation, and trying to more to disturb a little bit more the industry, being a little bit more radical. And because now we can take more liberty, because in the beginning of a career you have to reassure people, and then once you have that credibility, you can really deliver what you dream of. So my dream project, I don't know, maybe, I mean, Asia, I mean, Tokyo or Hong Kong, doing a hotel there. It's a place I never worked in the past, but or Bangkok. Wow, there are a lot of good designers in Bangkok. So I know that the challenge for me will be amazing in Bangkok, because you have a lot of very good ones and a lot of good designs. So yeah, I now it's less about the city and more about the most challenge, the project that will be very difficult for us to achieve. But sometimes you receive challenge you didn't even think about. And a few months back, I received a call for a project to transform an oil rig into a touristic destination. I never thought about this project could happen one day, but they contacted me because they said, we want to have a design vision, because we want you to see how we can develop a touristic destination with hotels with this oil rig aesthetic, and how you can create fantasy. I think they saw what we did in Al Ula in Shiran Resort on the design competition, and we brought a lot of fantasy world. I took a lot of inspiration from Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings, not literally, but just the spirit of it. And it was an exciting. If someone has asked me just before, would you be interested to do an oil rig? I would say yes, it's a dream project. But then it arrived without even thinking about it. So I would say that I hope I will not retire soon. And I would say that every project that we accept to do, because we cannot take too much, is shaping our methodology and the way we think. And I hope that the dream one will be really the one that will change me. So every project actually is changing me. And I hope that one of the last one is the one that changed me the most.
So if I put a massive white canvas on one side of Arc de Triomphe, what message would you write on that?
Never stop dreaming.
It's incredible.
Never stop dreaming.
I must admit, our conversation has been a dream, because the volume and the amount of passion when you talk, I cannot imagine what is it like in watching you working and creating this wonderful, luxury hotel. So I sincerely thank you. It's been an experience, a true experiential interviewing. So after your experiential travel, we have an experiential interview. And we look forward to see you soon in the podcast again. Thank you.